And I believe we're live. Welcome back, Jenny. Welcome back to the Renny Show after our summer break. How are you?
I'm fabulous, thank you. How are you? I should say I'm brilliant, shouldn't I?
Of course.
How are you? It's really, really good to see you.
Yeah,
And it's really good to be back. I've
isn't
missed you.
it just?
You've been
Isn't it just?
traveling all over Europe and being very wild and exciting.
Been a very busy bunny. Kids have gone back to school today, so it's the start of getting back into the normal routine, normal swing of things. But yes, it's been a lovely summer, so it's very good to be back. And I have missed our chats, so really looking forward to seeing where it takes us today. Right, well, we might as well dive in. Just want to say a quick hello to any of our viewers. Hope you've all had a wonderful summertime and still having lovely weather here. So hope you're all having lovely weather as well. If you want to ask us questions, please do. And feel free to make comments. We will respond as best as we can to any comments that are made. So let's get going. First one back. So Jenny, what has been your favourite thing about the summer this year in particular?
Well, that's quite tricky to answer, isn't it? Because it's not been as sunny as summer as I would have liked.
No.
So my favorite bit is the fact that we've got one now. So I'm a real sunshine lover.
Yes.
And um so I'm really celebrating the fact that we've got that summer has come a bit late, particularly for
Finally.
the kids going back to school, which I feel really sad about. But if I had to pick one thing that was really special was actually there've been two things, but they're both similar. Um, um, Last weekend I was at Party in the Park, which is a kind of local Abingdon
Yeah.
thing where bands, tribute bands come and play.
Yeah.
People go with their families, you take picnics and you dance in the grass and you do all that kind of stuff. And it's just open air and the sun shone. And it was just fabulous kind of community event.
Yeah.
It was the first time it's been done since before the pandemic. So
Oh,
for
that's nice.
me, it was different, but it was absolutely fabulous. And I absolutely loved it. And they used to do it in May, and this year we did it in September. So that was probably the highlight of my summer.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds brilliant. I love events like that. Can't beat it, can you?
You just can't. What was yours? I think that's really hard for you to pick because you've been so busy doing fabulous
We've
things.
we've had a pretty busy summer, I will be honest. I mean, the two highlights have to be, I can't narrow it down, it's a struggle, but the time we spent on family holidays. So we had a family holiday, the four of us, hubby, myself and the kids, which was brilliant. We went to Europa Park in Germany, biggest theme park in Germany. Absolutely brilliant fun, baking hot, but really well set up to cope with it. You know, there was water fountains everywhere, so you just got your cap and dunked it in and put it on your head and sorted yourself out. But they'd really thought about it, and there was loads of shade everywhere. All the places you queue for the rides in the theme park, that's all shaded. You know, they've really thought about it, and so that was just such a fun week. It was really, really good and very special for us as a family. And then hubby took me to Rome for a few days, which was even hotter, which was almost unbearable. But it was just wow. I've never been to Rome before. I don't know if you've been to Rome.
I
Oh,
have a
what
few
a place.
times.
Wow, I definitely will be going back at some point. It was just the culture, the art. It was my favorite moment, I suppose, and maybe actually this does become my favorite moment of the summer. Walking into the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican and looking up and seeing Michelangelo's work with my own eyes. Wow, just breathtaking. It literally took my breath away, brought a tear to my eye, and was just wonderful. You know, we had 15 minutes because we had a tour guide, and she said, you know, she told us various things beforehand, and then said, "I'm just going to leave you in there for 15 minutes to just look." And we just spent 15 minutes just looking in awe at all of this artwork. So yeah, some really special moments this summer. So that
The
probably
first
top.
time I went to the Sistine Chapel, it was closed for
Oh,
renovation, which I was really
oh,
upset about. And the
yeah.
second time, I went really, really early, and there was only me in there for about 10 minutes. There was just me.
Oh
Um,
wow,
so I
Jenny.
hear you. And I actually lay on the
Oh, I don't blame you. I'd have done the
floor.
same.
I lay on the floor, and then people came in, so I had to get up. But you know, it is the most amazing, just the most. And there is something about seeing something with your very own eyes in
Yes,
real, isn't it?
yes,
Yes, we've seen
yes,
it on the telly, we've seen it at the pictures. There's lots of things that we
absolutely.
can see online and in photographs and on
Yeah,
fabulous, you know, on the telly. But there is something about the atmosphere of actually physically being in the same room.
completely. Yeah, yeah. I'm right with you on that one. Definitely. Fabulous. Right. Well, what's your first question then? And I'll do my best to type it
Well,
in quickly.
my first question, because I wrote a post about it this morning, so I thought I'd carry on. So
Okay.
my first question is, what do you think your biggest fear is?
Ooh. Okay. Now that's an
There isn't a
interesting.
right or wrong answer, but
No, of course. Now
as with
the,
all our
the
questions.
interesting thing there is for a, you know, I've had a pretty much uh lifelong, I would say, fear of falling. So I'm fine with heights, but if I feel I'm at risk of falling, then I get absolutely petrified. And there've been a number of occasions where I've done things to try and overcome that. Um, so you know, I can remember abseiling used to petrify me. The first time I did it when I was about 11 or 12 on a school trip, utterly petrified. You know, to put your trust in that rope and that you're not going to fall when you lean backwards from the wall and you've got nothing to hold on to. Um, it is a big thing, isn't it? You know, and I ended up, I'd quite merrily hang upside down off the rope. You know, it was like, great, you know, this is wonderful. And the theme park thing, because we do like theme parks as a family. So the fear of falling can be a real problem on roller coasters, depending what kind of roller coaster it is. Many years ago, when I was at university, I went on Oblivion at Alton Towers. For anyone that doesn't know, you go up a bit and along, it dangles you, and then you drop straight down, literally straight down into a hole in the ground. Um, I had a panic attack before we even got straight and level to be tipped and dropped, and had an awful experience on that ride. So ever since, that's really impacted what I will and won't go on. And that can get in the way, particularly if you're there as a family, of doing things together. So the last couple of years, I decided I wasn't going to let that get in the way anymore. And last time we went to, I think it was Thorpe Park last year, my eldest asked me to go on a ride with her, which I didn't want to go on. I was really scared, but I agreed. I said, I'm going to do it because I'm not going to let this fear get in the way. And so we queued up for this ride and we got strapped in. And I didn't have a panic attack, but I was utterly petrified. You know, my daughter was apologizing to me for making me go on this ride. Not that she made me, but because she could see how utterly petrified I was. And this particular one, it takes you up, then it inverts you, then you drop. But it wasn't a vertical drop, but it was a fairly significant drop. So I went from being utterly petrified on the ride to thinking, this is brilliant, and really enjoying it. Because when you start doing the normal roller coaster stuff, I love all of that. It's just the drops I don't like. So that then led to, whilst we were at Europa Park in August this year, there was not a single ride I wouldn't go on. Even though they had really significant drops, a couple of them, I said, I'm just, feel the fear and do it anyway, I suppose. There's nothing wrong with fear. It's what you choose to do with it. And I have proactively made the choice to do it anyway. And I'm so glad I did, because I feel I could, I've been on mega coasters now in Europe. I feel I could go on anything now, but I still don't want to do a bungee jump or jump out of a perfectly serviceable aeroplane.
Fear's a funny thing, isn't it? And
Yes.
yeah, I've been doing a lot of work with kind of personality traits. And as humans, we're all fear based because it's about survival. So I've
Yeah.
been doing a lot of work this last month, which is one of my other favorite things about the summer. Um, Around personality traits and the fears
Yeah.
associated with our personalities, and how our fear turns what would be our strength into a vulnerability, because when our fear is triggered, we over rely on our strengths and they become our vulnerabilities. So I've been having a whale of time looking at,
Yeah.
some of my personality based fears. um,
Okay.
so look out for my blog, which I'm in the process of writing about it.
Okay. Fantastic. I shall look forward to that then. So are you going to let us in on what
Yes.
your biggest fear is?
Um, well, one of them is stillness.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um, and that's because when I am still, I have time to uh, feel
Mm.
those emotions that most of the time, the hard emotions, the ones that are a bit
Yeah.
tricky,
Yeah.
um, that I most of the time when I'm busy I can avoid.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So if
And
I
you're not
keep
alone in that.
so I keep busy because then I can avoid them all. Whereas of course, so the fear is stillness, because when I'm still, then I have the time to reflect and to identify and to own those fears. So all of those tricky ones like loss and grief and anger and pain, and frustration and yeah, all of those ones that actually um, I'd rather not look at
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I've been doing a lot of work on that, so it's been really interesting to
Mm.
understand where they come from and what triggers them, but also what we do with them. So that
Yeah.
thing about it's not sometimes it comes from quite often when we're little, about
Yeah.
being cross. Being angry is looked on as unacceptable. It's not
Yeah.
okay to be cross. It's like, well, actually, I think it is. I think it is okay to be cross.
Yeah.
It's how we deal with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's been
Absolutely.
fascinating, and probably we could do a whole session
I was just
on
thinking that. Yeah.
that, but I don't want to take up any more time. But yes, it's been fascinating, and I'm doing some work as a
Mm.
training partner with the Training Rock. So that's very exciting.
Yes.
So we've been doing lots of work together, it's been great.
Very exciting. Sounds brilliant. I look forward to hearing more. And the blog, of
Yeah.
course, when it comes. Fabulous. Okay. So I'll move on to my next question then, which is a very
Mm.
topical one. What is your top tip for coping in this heat wave, which we are now finally having for the summer?
Um, oh well, I love a bit of heat. I am a sun worshipper, but I do appreciate that a lot of our buildings aren't designed for
No.
hot, are they? They're designed
No.
for what we normally have, which is cold. So
Yeah.
our houses are well insulated. We have carpets and we have interlined curtains and all of those things.
Yeah.
So my top tips are that actually, if you've got blinds, open your windows. If you've got blinds, keep your blinds down, although it's a bit dark, but it does keep so keep the air circulating. And does this count as advertising? I'm not sure, but I have one of these. It
Ooh.
is the most. Oh, it's stopped now. It is the most. John Lewis.
Okay.
It's quite a powerful fan, fits in your handbag,
Yeah.
and has 3 speeds, but it also clicks into a little
It
desk
doesn't sit
fan.
on your desk.
So you can take it with
Very
you
good.
anywhere, which is just fabulous. Lots of water, um, all that, lots of water, lots of fluids, and I think it's okay to take a leaf out of Mediterranean countries and
Oh,
just slow down a little. You
maybe have a
know,
siesta.
yes, slow down, slow down, celebrate the stillness, slow down. Actually, um, and there is something about I'm an early bird, so I get up early in the morning. So I get up early when it's cool, do a lot of work then, and then you can slow down
Yeah,
later on when
yeah,
it's hot.
definitely. Excellent tip. I thoroughly agree.
What about you? What are your tips?
Well, my top tip that I was going to go for would be the hydration, water. Obviously, it doesn't have to just be water; it can be many other things as well. But um,
Gin.
well, it could be that too. But I mean, we've got how many is it this week? 42 trillion cells or something in our body. I think it's actually more than that. They keep changing their minds on how many trillion cells we have in our body, but every single one of them has water inside. So we need to keep all of those cells hydrated to keep all our bodily systems functioning as they should. So it's not just about, it's more important than, oh, keep hydrated. We always hear that as a tip. It's really important, but I think a lot of people don't understand why it's so important. It really is crucial for keeping all our systems working as they should, which when you're experiencing extreme heat, everything just feels more sluggish, doesn't it? Because you don't want to move so quick because it's too hot to do so. That's where your fans, I have to admit, on our summer holidays this year, because we were abroad, fortunately, so we're having lovely weather, I had a hand fan on me all the time, and I use it frequently. The only issue with that, of course, is because you're doing that action all the time to fan yourself,
Oh,
it makes you hotter. So you
yeah.
have to temper it with the hydration and trying to find shade and all the rest of it. And I suppose the other thing to say to people is don't forget the sunscreen, because I love a bit of sun as well. I love
Yeah.
having a tan. It's fantastic, but we all need to be really careful about those harmful rays that we get from the sun as well.
Factor 50. I never use anything less than factor 50. And I think it's that we can maybe, and people think if you wear factor 50, you're not going to get a suntan.
You
No,
still,
you
yeah,
do. You
yeah,
get a suntan using factor 50. It means you don't burn. It
yeah.
means your suntan might take a little bit longer, but actually
Yes,
it
it
lasts for
just
longer
takes
as
longer.
well.
Yeah,
So actually factor 50 is the thing. Your skin needs protecting and caring about. It's the
absolutely,
biggest organ in your body, so we need to look after it. Absolutely.
definitely. Excellent. Okay, what's your next question for me then?
Well, actually, it's kind of linked. It's linked with again heat, and I was going to ask you. I heard about this on a podcast I was listening to this morning,
Okay,
and it was about this is might be slightly random, but I know you're used to my slightly random questions. Um,
we love
how
random.
do you how do you tend? How do you care for your sacred fire?
Huh. Okay, for you, I'm just typing it in quickly so I can put it on the screen. Oh, and there we go, it's on the screen. How do you care for your sacred fire? Gosh, I have to confess to being a little bit flummoxed as to what to say to that. I'm not sure I 100% understand what my sacred fire actually is.
It's your core. No, I was very interested, and that's why I
Mm,
didn't want to say what I think it is, because I wanted
yeah.
to know if you had a thought. My understanding from listening to the podcast this morning,
Okay.
is that kind of your inner core, that your kind of burning, I don't know, purpose, desire,
Yeah.
the thing that keeps you, keeps you motivated, keeps you
Yeah.
going. And the premise of the podcast this morning was around, actually, we're not always very, we just assume that, because it's an inner
Yeah.
fire, that we don't have to look after it, it just keep burning on its own. And so the question this morning was, how do you, or do you, do you assume it would? I guess it's what, um um if we were talking about Chinese kind of culture,
Yeah.
they talk about qi, your energy, that kind of, they
Yeah.
talk about constitutional qi, which is the energy that you are born with. But then you can top it up by the way that you live your life, and the environment that you surround yourself with. So I suppose the sacred fire is maybe what they would call constitutional qi, that kind of
Yeah.
core,
That
your
makes
core
sense.
energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, I mean, I
No, I
think,
was so excited by
yeah, yeah.
it.
I think what you've said about, whether what people do, but whether they even do look after their sacred fire is a really good point, because I think it's really easy to not look after our, that core energy. um I think for me, it's something I've been much more aware of in recent years. We bandy around the term self-care, and personal development, but for me, that's absolutely crucial. Taking that time to be with your own thoughts, mindfulness. I started, before the summer break, doing regular walks for that very reason, to spend that time, lost in my own train of thought. And I found that, it piqued my creativity, which I hadn't really realised had been at a lesser level, because I wasn't giving it space, if you like, to come from within. And I think personal development is also really crucial, whether that's education, whether it's reading books, listening to podcasts, topping up. We all know a certain amount at any given time about what it is that we do, or about any given subject. But I'm a real believer in, but there's always more. There's always more we can learn from each other, from education, from books, whatever it is. And so to keep topping that up, I think, is really important. And it involves putting yourself first, which I think is where most people fall down, and probably why they don't look after their sacred fire, because they don't put themselves first. I was coaching someone this morning, and there's a pattern had emerged in their life, about not putting themselves first. And it's so easy to do, because you act a certain way because you think that's a good idea at the time, for any number of reasons. And what can often happen is that you then end at the bottom of the pile, in terms of looking after yourself. And I think that applies to so many people. So for me, I perhaps haven't looked after my sacred fire as well as I could have done in my lifetime, but certainly in the more recent years, I'm much more aware. I think awareness is the key here. Awareness of it, so that you can do something about it.
Excellent. And yet, no, I agree with you. And I think, we talk about, I've been much more, open's maybe the wrong word. I've been much more inclusive of my
Yeah,
soul, in
yeah,
terms of, and I think people sometimes automatically assume, if you're talking about your soul, then there's some religious connotation,
yeah.
um,
It doesn't have to be at
which
all,
they
does it?
may or may not, kind of feel comfortable with. But actually, I don't feel that my soul is necessarily, part of a religion, but it is part of who I am. And we often
Yeah,
talk, don't we, about putting our heart and soul into things. And uh, and I think it's easy to concentrate on your heart. I think your soul is a whole other level, which is why I was interested in the podcast. And I
Yeah.
need to. There is a really good book apparently connected
Okay.
to Sacred Fire, so I need to read that. And I will, when I find the right
Yeah,
link
yeah,
for the book.
no. Yeah.
I will share that on with you guys,
Fantastic.
so
Oh,
that we
yeah.
can.
Look forward to that. Brilliant. Oh, that was a great
Yeah.
question. Love that. That actually that got me thinking. That was really good. I like that.
Well,
Okay.
that's kind of what we like with the Renny show, isn't it? We like it.
Yes,
We like it to be
absolutely.
a bit thought provoking, fun, thought provoking, a good mix of all of those things. So there you go.
Absolutely. We love good bits. Fabulous. Okay. So, my final question for you is, what does September mean for you? What does this time of the year signify? Is there anything particular that happens in September? What does September mean for you?
Well, um, September usually means that I am clinging on to the summer for grim death. Trying to be really positive about all the
Yeah.
things that happen. Um, I love the mellowness of September. I like it even better when it's warm and sunny, because
Yeah.
I am not ready for. So September's still summer to me, but
Yes,
that's
I feel
a
a bit like
story
that.
I tell myself because I'm just not ready. It's the season of the transition from summer to autumn is the one that I find most difficult, and I resist
Yeah.
womanfully every year. I try and eke it out, and if I can eke the summer into October,
Yeah.
then I'm even more happy. Eventually, when I'm dragged kicking and screaming into my jumpers and woolly things,
Yeah. Oh,
then I kind of give in, kind of gracefully. But so September for me, um, I love the colours of September. I love the
yes.
warmth, and I cling on to that. Um, my sister's birthday is at the end of September, so that's always
Mhm.
a good thing to celebrate, and it's a big one this year, so that's always
Very good.
exciting. Um, um, Age is just a number, isn't it? Doesn't really
Of
matter what it
course.
is.
Yeah.
But there is that celebration and gratitude, for the years that we have.
Yeah.
Older age is a privilege, isn't it? It's a gift,
Absolutely.
denied to many.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I love blackberries.
Yeah.
We went blackberry picking the other day, my granddaughter and I, and just that joy of eating blackberries off off of a
Yeah. Yeah.
bramble in a
Can't beat it,
park.
can you?
It's just wonderful. Oh, it's just lovely. So I love that. So yes, I try and focus on all the, so that kind of, the pears and apples, picking apples, picking fruit from a tree, the
Yeah.
apples and the pears and plums, things like that are things that I really enjoy about September. I'm not going to mention the getting dark in the mornings or getting dark in the evenings, because that doesn't
No.
bring me joy.
We're
Um,
pretending that's not going to happen, aren't we, Jenny?
we are. So we're loving this whole sunshiny September works for me. What
Yes,
about you?
I'm with you on that one. Well, I'm the same. I mean, I love winter and I love cold and I love snow and skiing and all those things, but I also always hang on to summer. When September comes, I persevere with the shorts for quite a long time, as long as I can, before I have to go back into leggings or dresses and warmer things, thick woolly tights. But September for me always feels like a big reset, more so than January does. I think it's because of having had the summer holidays with the children.
Mm.
So I wonder if it might have been similar for you in the past, when your children were younger. It because it's a fresh start for them, because obviously they're going into a completely new
Mm,
school year,
mm,
and it's my opportunity to reset what I'm doing, to refocus, renew, kind of everything on the beginning of all the words, refocus, reset, renew, and to try and finish the year strong, even though it's a beginning. It's only 4 months long, if you like, in terms of the rest of the year. So it's different in that sense. But yeah, it always feels like a reset for me. So I quite like that. It feels like January is then the second opportunity to do that after Christmas. But for me, the real reset is September, definitely.
I think my children are so old that they're not children, they're grown-ups, but I think they're so old that they've been out of school for so long that I'm a bit hazy. I mean, I know, because obviously there's lots of people whose children are going to school, so I love the kind of the new stationery, the new uniform, the newness of that. But it doesn't feature. My grandchildren aren't big enough yet to worry about school, so we don't worry about that yet. So but I hear you absolutely, in terms of that newness. But it kind of, I've kind of let myself go, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't, apart from stationery, because stationery always matters. I love a bit of stationery.
It doesn't.
But that kind of being relaxed about, oh, actually, it's September. It's a quarter, it's the last quarter. I get that. But actually, it's really quite nice to go, not to feel the pressure of that at this moment in time. So that's, I think that's lovely. But that kind of also looking at how far we've come. So in terms of the trees are fruiting, actually it's easy to kind of go, oh well, it was a new beginning, but actually let's look at how much we've done already this year, what's worked really well, because the temptation to move on to the next thing without actually celebrating what we've achieved and what's happened today is really important as well, I think, isn't it? Celebrating that fruitfulness that we've already done.
Definitely. I think that's a great way of putting it. Couldn't agree more. What a surprise. Oh, it's time for your final question for me.
Well, it's really funny because my final question is really frivolous. And we've just been talking about fruit. So my question is, obviously with all these fabulous, blackberries, apples, kind of, what's your favorite recipe for making the most of autumn fruits, September fruits? Fruity September.
I like it. Fruity September. Right. Well, the first thing I have to do is give a shout out for the blackberries that you just mentioned, because whilst hubby and I were in Rome, the girls did go blackberry picking with grandma, and they made blackberry muffins, which I have to say were absolutely gorgeous. For me, even though it seems wrong for the weather we're having, it's always going to be fruit crumble.
And crumble.
Just so the softness of the fruit, the tartness, and the sweetness of the crumble and the crunch. Oh, you just can't beat a crumble any time of year. So even when it's hot, apple and blackberry crumble. Wow, lovely, just gorgeous. Yeah.
And do you put oats? See, I put oats in my crumbles, so like flapjacky. And I have been known to make an more adult crumble that's got nuts and nuts in it as well.
Oh, I've never tried that.
Even more crunch.
Love a bit of crunch.
Almonds and oats in your.
Do you toast the almonds first?
Yes, I do toast them first.
Okay, excellent.
And then just obviously when you've made the crumble, just stir them in.
Yeah, yum.
Very delicious.
I want crumble now.
I know, and then that's almost another question. Is do you have ice cream? You see, do you have ice cream with it? Do you have custard? For me, it has to be custard. I love custard with my crumble.
Yeah, I'm a custard girl. Even in hot weather. I mean, I might. If I didn't have any custard, I'd have ice cream quite happily. But crumble should be with custard.
Custard's proper.
Yeah. Oh,
As ever, we're on the same page, aren't we? It's
it's
like,
just
oh,
it's almost unbelievable, isn't it? But yeah, we really are. I was just going to ask, did you have any other particular recipes for the autumn fruits aside from wonderful crumble and custard?
crumble is always my go-to, but I did make some very nice banana and blackberry muffins the other day,
Ooh,
which were delicious.
yeah.
Posey helped me do those, and they were absolutely beautiful. And I also made a that I think they're normally made with raspberries, but I made them with blackberries, and they're called friands. Friands. They're
Oh,
they're they're sort of, they have quite a lot of ground almonds in them, so they're like a um. You can make them gluten free. So I have a very good friend who has celiac disease. So trying to find nice things that don't taste like they're gluten free
yeah.
can be a bit tricky. But these are beautiful. So I think that's how you pronounce them, friand. So
Okay.
they're like a very soft sponge with the, and you put a little bit of blackberry jam in with your blackberries, and then you
Yeah.
make a little hole in the top, and then you just pour them in.
Oh,
um
lovely.
they're delicious. So that's a great thing to do with. um but yes, and lots of plums, plum pears, pear sponge, uh,
Yeah.
plum clafoutis. You can do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It's quite often done with cherries, but you can do it with plums. That's delicious. You can do. I'm very partial to a tarte tatin,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you can do those with plums as well as
Yeah.
apples. Um, so they are delicious.
They all sound, I
So
just want to eat them all now.
yeah, that's yes, it's just, and of course none of them are particularly conducive to temperatures of 28 degrees.
Not really,
Um,
no, but
but they're so delicious.
yeah,
So
worth it.
yes, if you're, and of course you could always pick your plums and freeze them, and then you
Yes.
can do them when it's not so warm. You can do them then.
Excellent. Okay, well that brings us to the end of our first show back, Jenny. It's been, as always, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Lovely to catch up and ask each other some interesting questions. Quite a mixture in there of as we always like to have.
Of
So that's
course.
good. Hope you've all enjoyed listening. And as ever, if you've got any comments, please do let us know. We love to talk, as you can see. So we love to carry on the conversation if you've got any comments that you'd like to make. So keep your eyes peeled, because I think fear might well have to be a topic that we cover on one session. So we'll talk about that off stage, won't we, Jenny, and see what we can
We
come up with.
will.
But take good care of yourselves, folks, and we shall look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time, same place.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care and enjoy the sunshine. See you soon.
Bye.